Okay, the first question on disruption and shock, what you call, or others call shock politics. I mean, the term shock, of course, you know, it's used in many different contexts. Not so long ago, in the late 90s, we had shock therapy, when it came to reanimate economies that were in a state of terminal, quote-unquote, illness. So shock politics, the way I understand it, refers to a set of practices, the aim of which is to reawaken a body, both literally and figuratively, a body, a social body, a cultural, political body that is in need of reanimation. It is in need of reanimation, presumably because it has been crippled by all kinds of forces that have made it such that it has become desensitized. It has become desensitized, it has become used to that which shouldn't be considered to be normal. So you have, for instance, a number of part of the politics of viscerality today refers precisely to the fact that we have come to take as normal that which is not normal. So people will tell you that it is not normal at all that in a country like South Africa, that is so rich, that 40 or 45% of the population is jobless. We have come to accept that as, okay, it's a consequence of the laws of the economy, most of which are totally abstract. All of this has led us to believe, for instance, that in fact, who wins is right. If you win, you must be right somewhere. So this is not normal. So the idea is to reinterrogate what passes for the norm and to reopen it up for a set of critique in the hope of creating an alternative world institutions. So you snap it properly, and so we have, shock politics in South Africa is the biggest theater is our parliament. So first of all, you dress really flashy red, and you go there and you fight. And for the first time, we see people fighting in parliament. You make it such that the other has to exercise violence against you in order for the covert nature of the sexual violence to explode in the eyes of everybody in this mediatic age. So that's what I understand by shock politics. But shock politics doesn't necessarily need to entail violence as such. We haven't explored the whole range of tactics we could use, which are non-violent tactics, in order to bring to term the systemic violence that, it is true, is regulating a society such as this. So the shift to violence, the glorification of violence as such, doesn't help very much, it seems to me, in the kind of politics of emancipation we need to bring about in a democratic system. Now, radical critique and the state of affairs. I'm sorry, if you can be a bit more specific, then I'll be able to answer. Do you want to say more?
In the previous session, we were told that one of the roles of the university is to provide radical critique. And from what I've just listened from you, this is happening. Universities are providing radical critics. So how come that in a country with so many eminent critics, radical critics, we can still see what you talked about, parliamentarians fighting in front of the camera? Thank you.
I'm not sure that the task of the university is to do that. I mean, I want to be convinced that that is the task of the university. In saying that I'm not exhibiting, I don't know what kind of conservative. I think that the task of the university is to equip those who come to the university, those inhabit it, with those capacities that are needed for them to make their own judgments and decide on what course of action they want to take or what they want to make of their lives. I don't think that the task of the university is about imparting on students, for instance. I don't know what kind of so-called radical, call it whatever you want. So I'm not sure about that. I think that the university has to be a space of freedom, the task of which is one of redistribution of intelligence in a democratic as possible way. After that, what it is that we do with the intelligence we have acquired, what we do with it is our business. I think that we have assigned to universities an impossible task. First of all, they are not there to prepare us for, I don't know what kind of employment. They are there to educate us. Education, which I define as distribution, general redistribution of intelligence, not only to students, but to society at large. I think, as far as South Africa is concerned, that there is a clear-cut distinction between reforming an institution and destroying an institution. Because of the rest of Africa's experience in dealing with institutions, and South Africa would learn a lot if only for a moment it agreed that it is part of the continent and not some, I don't know what. You would see what has happened to the history of institutions in the aftermath of massive hydraulic systems of oppression when they have been dismantled or, in any case, interrupted. There's a clear distinction. I do not believe personally that we are at a stage when we have to destroy institutions in South Africa. We have to reform institutions. Places such as this, Stellenbosch, have to be reformed. But we cannot destroy the institutions. Of course, when you look around, I mean, institutions are being destroyed quite severely. The ones who pay for the most for the destruction of institutions are the poor. They always pay the biggest price. So I cannot stand here and say, okay, let's go and destroy this university, knowing very well that somebody else will pick up the tab. Same thing with violence. But our society has become somewhat desensitized to violence. When you read the newspapers, every month, people justify it. You can hardly ever condemn violence any longer in South Africa. People will tell you, but you have to understand. But understanding, of course, it is important. Explanation is important. But the politics of explanation and understanding also has a certain number of limits. So if you want, look, I'm not maybe answering directly your question, but what I was talking about is not just something in the air. It applies directly to the kind of predicament that is ours here and now. Of course, found it elsewhere too. All that I'm saying is that it requires some cautious reading within a set of parameters which include what is, how far can we go, and what is the limit. But we live now in an age where, I mean, there are no limits, there are no debts, and of course the social vanishes. The moment there are no limits, the moment there are no debt. Debt is not part. Societies are built on a debt, on some idea of debt. A debt that is not expropriatory, a debt that is obligatory, in the sense that it ties us up with those we live with in the present, and more importantly, it ties us up with those who are coming after us, and with those we believe we are not at all responsible of, those who are not ours or of ours. Without that, of course, I mean, you are just, not you, we are just buying into the generalized neoliberal ideology of total deregulation. And saying that, once again, is not a conservative position. Yours, I'm sorry, Ken, I didn't really capture the last one. Oh, yeah, anti-intellectualism. You see, the experts still have a long time to go. Huh? I don't think that the rule of experts is over. The rebellion against experts is increasing. But of course there are different kinds of expertise. The expertise as such can be used for various projects. For instance, in an age dominated by statistics, there's a certain way in which we can use statistics to pursue goals of social justice. So, in fact, as capitalism becomes ever more abstract, ever more arcane, we can only fight against it if somewhat we turn that sophistication into something else. We can, for instance, now hardly fight against capitalism if we don't have any sense of the logic of indebtedness. If we do not know anything about the ways in which financial instruments operate, hedge funds, derivatives, algorithms, without a certain kind of literacy. Literacy has become absolutely critical for new acts of resistance. We cannot fight against what we don't understand. And yet, the politics of viscerality goes against that. It's premised on the idea, okay, it has come from the gut. But the gut alone won't make it. It's important, the gut is important. But it alone will not make it. We'll be banging our heads against the wall if we do not understand the ways in which finance, for instance, operates today, which requires literacy in economics, in modelization, and all those new domains of human knowledge, we think is essential. Otherwise, anti-intellectualism is the most conservative thing one can imagine. It is right. In South Africa has a long history of anti-intellectualism. It's a very it's a society what strikes me the most, and here I'm not really just abusing my host country, but just go to Dakar, for instance. Senegal is a very, not poor, but it's a different country. People are pretty poor, but they also have a huge diaspora. And the interaction between the elsewhere and the here it's a laboratory of how those things work in this age in which you cannot just sit here and then think you're exceptional. You have to get out. Get out, then come back. And be curious. That's why, for instance, I think if I were to be the Vice Chancellor of, which I really don't believe in, because it's terrible to be a Vice Chancellor today in any South African university. It's a thankless job. It's completely impossible. But for instance, in the humanities, in any case, it should be possible to have programs that allow young South Africans to get out, go to Nigeria, go to Kenya, spend a semester in Ethiopia, and then come back. But in order for decolonization, if you want to use this, I'm sorry to bring decolonization here again, but if we were to take it seriously, that is what it entails. It entails a double movement of making sure that the here and elsewhere dialectics is refined. It means, for instance, that when we fight for a just university in South Africa, we include students coming, the fate of students coming from the rest of the continent. That it be part of the political agenda. That we want to transform South African universities if we allow that, for instance, foreign African students pay 70% more of the fees or are treated the way they are treated. It doesn't make sense. It's just a purely provincial project that has to speak to a broader world. But these are discussions I'm sure that our guests from outside don't really need to be entertaining.
Okay, let's take another round of 3 questions.